Hello and welcome to the Pinfall podcast. I am your host today, Elizabeth, and I am joined by my co-host, Mark.
Great episode of Smackdown today. Wonderful.
We might call ourselves the Pinfall podcast, but we're better known as the show that you can watch so you don't have to watch Smackdown. We watch it for you. That's why I drink. It really is.
No, it's not that show.
Oh my Christ. Lord have mercy on me. That is... Oh.
Liz, when will you realize that you're not good at making cocktails?
To be fair, it depends on what your needs are. And then you can decide if I'm good at making cocktails. If you want to get drunk, I'm good at making cocktails. If you don't want to be hurt, I'm bad at it. I'm trying out a new gin today. It hurts. It hurts. It doesn't hurt as much as the last 2 hours of my life did. So, I didn't even put earrings in for this podcast. Normally I put earrings on because I want to look like a person. I could not care less today.
You see, it wouldn't have been as bad if one out of the 5 fights today hadn't ended in DQ. Like, every fight except one ended in DQ today. We only got one winner.
It hurts because there was like one moment where I was like, oh, sorry? And then they even took that moment and they were like, no, you don't get to know what's going on.
Yeah.
Only Vince does.
That last
I was like, oh.
10 minutes was kind of awful. But we'll get to it when we get to that in the show. Because we still have a ways to go. You want to walk us through our first segment?
Awesome. Let's take our sweet ass time because if we breeze through everything, we're going to be done in the next 20 minutes.
I just want to talk about how great
You
Cesaro
warned me
was
to
today.
this? You boy. Did a good job. And so did Lindsay. They both did a good job.
Oh, yeah. They're the only ones who fought today.
Until further notice, this is how the sign gets to look on Fridays. I don't care. She's tired. I'm tired. You, the viewer, should also probably be tired. Nobody deserves what SmackDown puts us through for a 2-hour weekly basis.
So you want to...
All right. If I had not done makeup for something that we did earlier, for a different podcast.
Not a podcast.
For a different thing that we do that also is streamed, I would not have put makeup on tonight either. However, excellently, I meant to throw that onto the bed. And it boomeranged off the bed onto the ground.
I heard it.
I was like, that's fair. Guess what? It was also a slow news day, so don't get your hopes up for this either. Actually, to be fair, it was a slow news day today. Yesterday, something weird happened.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm saving that for last because it'll probably be the most interesting thing that we talk about tonight. First things first. Forbes acted like they were shocked about it. Every other wrestling news outlet that I turned to acted like they were shocked about it. Rey Mysterio re-signed with WWE, despite the fact that AEW apparently offered him a massive brand deal. Is that surprising to anyone? I'm sorry, I didn't think that was surprising at all.
I mean, considering how they've been writing Rey Mysterio's character, maybe he considered it, but... I mean, his son's there.
I feel like AEW is basically just like... I feel like they have some guy that just like posts up outside like wherever they have their meetings, either, I assume, probably in Florida. I feel like they just have a guy that posts up outside the door, and if like things go well, they're just like, hey, bud, come over here. Just come over here real quick.
Like a white van that says employment.
On the side, it says better employment than WWE can offer you. It is kind of interesting though, because I've talked about this a couple times about how I just kind of like, I feel like AEW is sooner or later going to get smacked in the face because they're doing wrestling the way that WWE did wrestling up until probably like mid 2000s ish. But the reason WWE kind of stopped doing that was because of health concerns, Chris Benoit, all of, like those tragedies that kind of culminated into one. Tyson Kidd. I feel like sooner or later they're going to kind of get slapped in the face because like something bad's going to happen. And I've been saying that just from like my own headspace. And then I watched a video from AEW with one of their wrestlers, Brandy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw a sign at you. I'm sorry. I know the room's a mess. Mummy isn't actually mad. Mummy just made a bit of a mess. Repeats. There's like papers on the ground. There's a sign on the ground. No, that was on purpose. I dropped some stuff. But in this episode, it was like a cooking show with one of the wrestlers who I think is named Brandy. And Jon Moxley was on it, so I decided to watch it because I like Jon Moxley. And he said, like, I think AEW appeals to, like, older wrestling fans who kind of feel like WWE's kind of gone down a goofy route and they want to watch real wrestling again. And I was like, oh, so I was right. I've never watched a single episode, and somehow I was right about this.
My mom also said that she deleted her Twitter, too.
Is that?
Are you looking at the chat?
I am now. The sign was intentional, but
that's from the beginning of the show.
I know, because I've got to look at my notes. I take notes so I can remember things. Oh, so I don't know when this episode was made. I just saw Jon Moxley and I watched it. However, that's curious. That's very curious. If I do say so myself. Listen, I'll do whatever I can to get a Jon Moxley YouTube video. Okay. My dude is weird as shit, and I love him for it. Also, this is not news, but in relation to Twitter, Renee earlier today scared me absolutely out of my mind because she tweeted, I quit. I said, I mean, I know I haven't seen you in like 5 years, but also, no. Perhaps not. And then somebody was like, what do you mean you quit? And she was like, I'm talking about hockey. But at the same time, like, Renee, we also have not seen you in a hot minute. So, like, I think if like you mentioned that there were rumors about her going to AEW, but I feel like if she were to leave WWE, she would go off to do different things because she's got her cookbook out now.
Mm-hmm.
Or she's working on a cookbook or something.
Yeah. So
I'm not so sure about that. I would cry if she left us for AEW, honestly. Can only handle so much abandonment. The second of 3 pieces of news that I have to offer everyone today is, again, not news that you should either be shocked by or probably if you're... Please don't lick my foot. Shocked by or not have seen at this point, I assume. But Pat McAfee versus Adam Cole has been confirmed for TakeOver 30. So Mark told me this yesterday. 2 of the 3 pieces of news today have been given to me by Mark. But I've been so swamped with everything else happening in my life. It's nice to have a co-host. Mwah. Anyways, he doesn't appreciate me as much as I thought he did. So Pat was confirmed for this, whatever, it doesn't matter. people were like, "Oh, I don't know why people think that like Pat McAfee's like some schmuck off the street that's like gonna look like a loser fighting Adam Cole because he's been in NXT for 2 years now or something." And it's like, and he's fought how many people in the last however many months?
I mean, Roman Reigns hasn't fought anyone in months.
Who has a proven history of fighting people in however many months? Or, you know, their lifetime, for
Vince
that matter.
McMahon.
How's that? I just don't like Pat McAfee. I really don't like football in general as a sport. Don't like a lot of people who play football. Pat McAfee seems to embody the absolute football playing person that I do not like. Also, I don't like that he's fighting Adam Cole. I like Adam Cole.
You seem to not like him because Adam Cole's fighting him.
No, that's not true. I don't like him because I think he seems like a schmuck. I don't think that he's as useless of a schmuck as people have been making him out to be. He seems like a schmuck. I don't care for schmucks.
I think it's just how they're spinning Adam Cole. Because like Milam said, seems to have gone babyface for this. Making Pat McAfee much more of a heel.
Well, wouldn't that be a good thing, though? Because, like, you would... Because I think that they're kind of trying to push... It seems a little more like they're trying to push Undisputed Era into more of a softer territory.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a good sign for Adam if they're pushing him more toward the face. Because Pat McAfee is not like... I doubt that Pat McAfee is like coming out and being like, I'm going to start my wrestling career today.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do I sound ridiculous? I feel like if they're pushing Adam more towards a face section, like it makes sense because he got kicked in the face. Kind of funny. If you're not Mark and you haven't been listening to me talk for the last 8 hours. But I feel like if they're making him seem like the good guy in the fight, then I imagine that it'll go well at TakeOver.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of hope that we also see another Undisputed Era match at TakeOver. Maybe Bobby and Kyle get a second shot at Imperium. I'm not sure why Kyle is back, considering the health concerns.
Or maybe it's Roddy and Bobby.
What?
Maybe it's Roddy and Bobby now.
Oh, I thought you were correcting me. I was like, no, it's Kyle. Maybe. Also, doesn't Roddy like need a nap? He needs a second.
No naps in WWE.
This is NXT. It's a little different.
Okay,
Triple H
so
defends his men.
definitely no naps in NXT.
Yeah, Trips probably isn't for the nap. Do
Okay,
you want to talk about our most...
I like how you've just been staring at your cocktail this whole time, just longingly.
I have not. I am not staring longingly at this at all. It hurts. Normally I put lemon juice in my cocktails, but I don't have any, so now it's just seltzer and gin. I think I said last night that I was going to bring a beer on, but I didn't. I brought Tangerine White Claw, which tastes like Fanta with alcohol.
Is that the last one of the Tangerine Fantas? Or Tangerine
I will buy
White
you.
Claws?
I will buy you another case tomorrow if you really want the tangerines.
I do.
I kind of want more tangerines too. All right, we'll talk about this later. We'll make a deal.
My people will talk to your people.
I'm pretty sure your people and my people are the cat, and she's sitting under me. I mean, attach a note to like her neck.
Yeah.
In her room.
Her head will talk to her tail.
So you got stuff to do, okay? She wants nothing to do with me. So let's talk about our most interesting piece of news.
For 6 minutes, because that's our cutoff.
6 minutes? Okay, yeah, that's fine. So as everyone learned on, I think, most people learned, I guess, on Wednesday, Marty Jannetty announced that he has murdered someone, which was something. That was interesting. Weird. But we all just sat back and we said, okay, sure.
Not only did he confess to murdering someone, he said it was the first time, and he also made another confession saying he murdered another person with a brick.
So, okay, this is not the news piece, by the way. I saw a couple headlines that were like, Marty Jannetty like talks about like a weird Facebook post that prompted police to like investigate him. I thought that was just gonna be him being like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got carried away. I was drunk. Who cares? Whatever." I know that that's what happened. God. Are you kidding me?
Anyway, our real piece of news.
Yeah, so ex-WWE announcer Hugo Savinovich, who I don't know who that is. Someone else might. I'm sure 90% of other people probably know who that is. I am woefully under educated on that. Came out with a story, all while claiming that this man is his friend and someone that he cares deeply about. That Karrion Kross was once a mafia-sponsored hitman, more or less. Yeah. Which, to be fair, I've definitely said he looks like he's probably seen some shit. I kind of thought that he was just a good actor.
You see, what the original headline was like, this guy announces, or this guy says, one current NXT star was a hired mafia hitman. And I was like, it's got to be Dexter Lumis. He looks like he could be. But no, Karrion Kross also looks like he could be.
I mean, Karrion Kross, like, I make comments about 90% of the guys in WWE. Like making fun of a lot of the people that wrestle. It's all harmless. It's kind of fun. At the end of the day, I used to hate Karrion Kross for whatever reason, just because I thought he was kind of annoying. I came around to Scarlett, and then I came around to Karrion, because I always come around to heels. However, as many times as I have said, like, I think that he like looks like he's done something horrible in his life. I never thought that rumor would come out. That's a big rumor.
Yeah. And one that could potentially put either of them in harm.
I'm looking at Mike's comment. I have to lean in for this.
You know, you could just pull up the comments on your phone or put your glasses on.
So, are they implying that is Hugo implying that he was talking in cave? Like, talking about, like, the story of Karrion Kross, the character? Is that what that's meant to imply? Because I feel like it's a little weird to go off the rails on, like, storytelling as far as a character is concerned.
I think that's what Mike's getting at. That he...
You know what?
That's a character, not actual Karrion Kross. Because confessing to that...
For my sake.
Saying that could potentially put both of them in harm if it was real. Both in a legal sense and in a mafia sense, so... I don't think... Now that Mike brought that up, I don't think it's real. But
also, to be totally fair... Like, here, let me tell a story for the context here. I'll make it quick because I know we only have a couple minutes left in the segment. So when I was shortly after I graduated high school, I went to school in a very small town. I graduated with like 70 kids. Some kids made a joke about how they had a gang. and they played it off of the name of a popular gang, I guess, to say it that way. And our school district neighbored on a very big city school district. And members of the gang that they played the name off of heard about this. And kids from that school that had also been part of that gang, like, hey, if you talk so big, then maybe be willing to fight us. And then the cops came to my old high school. They were like, hey guys, stop saying that stuff because you're gonna die. You guys are 100% not capable of fighting anyone. You're all dweebs. So with that said, I feel like also on a larger platform, but like saying a rumor could get lost in translation about him being a mafia hitman, which we have not heard yet. That was just as dangerous.
I don't know. I think it's
not like he's Roman Reigns.
I think
he's not protected.
I think it's the fault of the person he was talking to. The fact that they didn't understand, like, the storytelling aspect of wrestling.
Yeah, that's fair.
And Mike also said wrestling in Mexico is taken much differently than in America.
As we learned on Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah.
From that one episode we watched that was gut-wrenching. Anyways, I wish I had more news for you guys. Hopefully over the weekend I will have more. Hopefully over the weekend I will stop being as busy as I have been this week. Just pray that my busyness pays off.
And also hopefully the Mets win because it's the bottom of the 9th. And it's 4-3 right now. The Mets can come back.
I'll take one New York team winning after the Yankees disappointed me in such a vile way. I
know I brought it up. I'm sorry.
I supported a team for 24 years of my life. They turn around in my time of need with Aaron Judge striking out every other up at bat. You know what? Ridiculous. What are they paid for?
I shouldn't have brought it up. I'm sorry. This is my fault.
I'm moving on. Also, if I move my chair half an inch to the side, I'm going to roll over the cat, and I'm very stressed out right now. She's decided to lay right between me and the tripod. Speaking of... Sorry, Pete's. Hope I didn't scare you. Let's get this little... Ah, shit.
Not our actual main event.
You know... So, that's good. That's not crooked. Matches and promos! We actually have to talk about Smackdown, so I'm sorry. Get a beer, get a drink.
Sit back, don't relax, and don't have a good time.
I mean, you might want to relax just because you're not going to find any excitement in this. I can tell you that much right now. We started tonight without a montage, which was kind of nice, kind of refreshing, actually. The best thing that they did tonight.
I mean, it was still like a bunch of recap on last time and Extreme Rules.
I was going to say, not even just last time. So, recap on Extreme Rules, recap on last week's match. And then we segued right into Firefly Funhouse. And Bray now has a brand new wall, all of Braun pictures! I think it's fun! Decorating. We could use to decorate this room. Maybe with a couple of Braun Strowman crossed out eye pictures.
Oh yeah.
I think that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Bray tells us that the Fiend will be there later with somebody very special. And your brain tells you it's Alexa Bliss because that's who he stuck his fingers down the throat of last time.
Possessed.
Your heart.
Invaded. Possessed.
Yes. But your heart kind of says, like, Maybe one day John Cena will come back. I don't want to. I don't want to see John Cena back, but I also want that storyline to have like the loose string tied up.
Mm-hmm.
I could go my entire life without seeing that man again. But if it's for one night only, maybe. Then jump right into Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. Tonight really felt like they were just like, throw a bunch of names in the hat. We're just gonna pick who fights who this way, I guess.
Well, this storyline was like one of the most enjoyable things about SmackDown tonight, because it was kind of like the only interesting storyline tonight. I wish every fight hadn't ended in DQ, but let's carry on.
Ross?
Huh? Oh.
He's a carry on.
Yeah.
That's funny. That was
So I'm putting my resignation letter. I'm resigning from the Pinfall podcast. If anyone wants to be the new co-host, submit your application to Elizabeth at gmail.com.
We'll only be accepting applications from Geminis and Aquariuses. Figure it out, boys. Or girls. I would love another girl. Pete, do you want to do it? You're an Aries, though. I don't trust you. Mark is so tired of me.
I am.
Imagine living with me and also having to do this.
Mike said, shout out Gemini. Mike said, shout out Gemini. Hashtag Gemini gang.
Are you a Gemini, Mike? Oh, what fun! Makes my life so much
what
better.
Fun!
What's fun?
You sound like a Tim Burton character. What fun!
As a Gemini, I can only stand Geminis and Virgos. Virgos are the ones that keep me grounded.
All right, this isn't an astrology podcast.
I know. Anyways, Matt Riddle and Sheamus.
Yeah.
I don't know their zodiac signs. I used to, at least for Sheamus. So yeah, it was a weird match, but it was interesting the way that they pulled the way it sort of was interesting. I'll give them that. Okay.
I wouldn't mind the fact that they DQ'd if it wasn't one of those situations where these matches end in DQ one way, and then the last match didn't end in DQ the same way. Like, the same thing happened, but it didn't end in DQ, you know?
Yeah. If there was, like, some sort of ending, I guess, or closure.
Yeah.
So off the bat, Riddle manages to kind of koala Sheamus. And then it's a waist lock on him, but Sheamus kind of breaks it off. And then Sheamus, the poor old man, gets kicked in the leg. Sheamus decides, okay, I'm tired, and kicks Matt Riddle in the stomach, and then his arm multiple times, and that's fine. I was fine with it. Gets an arm lock on Riddle, and then Riddle reversed it into an arm bar, which it was interesting to see Sheamus fighting in more of a grappling manner than we've seen him do recently, I think. He's been doing more of entertainment wrestling, I think, as of late, so
Especially
I think to see
Jeff
him
Hardy.
kind of... Yeah. I think to see him do a match with somebody of a different style and kind of adapt that style was nice.
Mm-hmm.
It shows like he's thinking.
Yeah. Love to see, speaking of two, like, adaptive wrestlers, seeing him versus AJ Styles would be really interesting, considering they both really love to adapt to wrestling styles.
Trying to think if we'd seen that recently, because I feel like that's something that we should have seen recently, but...
Yeah, especially with the whole Intercontinental Championship, but Sheamus was on the other side of the bracket with Daniel Bryan.
Yeah. Sheamus then powerbombs Riddle's entire spine into the ground. Matt got against the ropes, and Sheamus was just kind of beating down on his chest. Sheamus went up to the top rope, but can you not kick me with your tail? Thank you. Riddle fought him off with some nice punches. Sheamus then fell and bounced off the apron onto the ground, which looked a little painful. It kind of looked like he may have lost his footing on that fall, and I was like, careful, he's 40. There was then a headlock on Riddle and a nice backbreaker. That was kind of Sheamus's whole thing tonight. Got 3 backbreakers in a row, which you would imagine if they were good backbreakers, they would have broken his back after 3, but whatever. Just naming things. Riddle went for a flying senton, but Sheamus moved out of the way, got Riddle around his shoulders, and slammed him to the ground. He went for a brogue kick, but was caught, which was really... Sheamus rolled him up, but it didn't work. Then tried another backbreaker, but Matt Riddle sent Sheamus shoulder first into the post, which I'm pretty sure he ended the match with some cuts to his face, and I'm pretty sure it was probably from that going into the post.
Mike wants to know what you want out of a neck breaker if you want a back breaker to actually break the person's back.
Listen, I'm just saying, if we're going to name them breakers, imagine something would break.
So from now on, only Germans are allowed to do the German suplex, and dragons are only allowed to do the dragon suplex.
I just want some authenticity here.
And you're not allowed to do a power bomb unless there's some TNT in your pocket.
Alright, fine. Anyways, now that I have made the new WWE new rules by Dua Lipa, Sheamus is then sent out of the ring, and Matt Riddle's kind of getting a leg up, if you will, kind of brutalizing Sheamus, and then Shorty G out of absolutely nowhere runs in, attacks Matt Riddle, makes the match end in a DQ, and Riddle decimates him. It wasn't a very good attack by Shorty G. Sheamus is just standing in the ring watching it happen.
It's Chad Gable now.
Oh, sorry, Chad. Chad runs in. Feels weird saying that. Don't like it.
The Chad runs in.
The Chadster, if you will. But Sheamus is just standing in the middle of the ring like, I fight somebody.
He's like, what's going on? Why am I gonna...
He didn't look like he was interested in anything that was going on outside the ring at that point. He was just like, I'm bleeding. I could use a nap. So because it ends in a DQ, I guess normally it's the challenger loses in the event of a DQ based on interference from another party. So Matt Riddle wins, which implies that Sheamus challenged him, but we didn't see that. This was kind of a very random starting fight.
Yeah.
But Matt Riddle wins, and Sheamus is mad. As Matt Riddle walks out, Sheamus decides that he's going to take his anger out on the person that caused the DQ, Chad. And he brogue kicks Chad twice, and then Shorty G is just dead in the ring. Does absolutely nothing, just lays there. Oh,
not sorry. Shorty G.
Sorry. Are you yelling at me? You also mad? Sorry. Our cat is mad that I called him Shorty G. She's mad enough that she's going to knock the entire tripod over. Yeah, so that was how the opening match ended. Yes, that's something that happens at a time.
Yeah.
Then cut to Corbin backstage. with some random girl. I'm pretty sure she was probably from The Bachelor because they were doing that at Raw.
If she was, they would have said she was so-and-so from The Bachelor.
Yeah, I get that, but also at the same time, she wasn't one of the announcers.
Mm-hmm.
She came out of nowhere. And Corbin's whole thing isn't exactly like Angel Garza's thing where he just flirts with random women.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why there would be a random woman if it wasn't for the fact that, like, The Bachelor, like, literally on Fox.
I think so, yeah.
I feel like they were just like, oh, here's this hot random girl, and then she shows up in The Bachelor, and then you can be like, oh, I saw her on Smackdown for some reason.
Yeah, you could do that. I don't know. It's just really weird and random.
Oh, it definitely was strange as hell. I didn't understand it. It was weird. I don't like seeing Corbin flirting with people because, like, it's not his thing.
Yeah.
I'm interested because now I've never wanted to, like, look up who is in The Bachelor, but now I feel like I have to.
Her name was Sarah. I know that.
Yeah. That was the thing that also confused me because, like,
there is a
we already
Sarah.
have an announcer named Sarah.
Yeah.
We don't need you. But while he's backstage with Sarah, I feel like that Key and Peele sketch. Blake. Sorry. Anyways. Another one of y'all says a stupid ass name. Sheamus comes after him. He's pissed off because Corbin has been working with Chad. And he says that he's going to kick Corbin's head off of his shoulders, which I'd love to see. Corbin then says that he has to deal with Jeff Hardy, but if it weren't for that, he would also be willing to fight to the death.
To the death.
I wish the boys wouldn't argue so much. I wish they would just get along and hold hands.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the dirt sheet, which I missed. And for as much as I missed it, I wasn't that impressed with it tonight. I liked it more when they were just talking about nonsensical things.
Yeah, it seemed very much like Ms. TV, but with a different name.
Yeah, like Ms. TV, but this time John was also meant to be there. Like, usually with Ms. TV, I'm like, oh, it's going to be The Miz. When John's also here.
Mm-hmm.
With Dirt Sheet, I'm like, it's John and The Miz. I don't know. I don't know how people find out who gets onto The Bachelor. I feel like I'm part of something I don't understand. And we are with our special guest Sonia on this.
No.
But one day, I can actually say that.
First with Mandy's hair.
Oh, yes, sorry. Our first special guest was Mandy Rose's hair. But prior to that, actually, we missed a little beat. Prior to that, the microphones didn't work. And The Miz and John Morrison played it off really well and kind of made me think, like, oh, this is like a goofy little thing. Hang on. Sneeze. What?
Bless you. I think, Milam, I think Retribution is supposed to be, like, because last time they were lighting the power generator on fire, and I think that's what's messing everything up, but also, why would setting a power generator on fire only just flicker the lights and the mics for a couple seconds?
Oh, Milam. You have so much to say about Retribution. I didn't realize that all of my hopes and dreams for one show could be dashed, in the span of 2 hours. But they were. They were. Everything I hoped for, gone out the window. But yeah, they played off the microphones not working so well, because, like, they were just like, oh man, is this like a Retribution thing? Aren't they supposed to be on Raw? It was like quiet, so it didn't really matter. Like I kind of just thought that they were making jokes. They weren't. That's the problem. So Mandy Rose's hair was a special guest. That was very funny, actually. I enjoyed that quite a bit. And then Sonya Deville comes out. God bless that woman.
She rocks a suit.
I feel like if you did like one of those face app things to Drew McIntyre and made him a woman, look like her. Like I feel like they're like the male female version of each other.
No, it would look like Drew from like 10 years ago.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I'm so in love with her. Everything she does. However, I think that's mostly because we're both dark-haired ladies. And no, let's stick together. It's not Gemini though, so.
Were we planning on like getting through to the other segments at all? Or just staying on this one?
I'm only holding this face because I'm finally seeing you smile and you haven't smiled once tonight.
I'm tired of everything. I
don't blame you.
I'm seeing on Reddit a lot of people love the Retribution segment, and I just don't get it. I'm seeing people... I am seeing speculation that one of the girls is Chelsea Green. One of them might be Vanessa Bourne. I don't know who that is. And somebody said one of them Swerve.
The whole time Retribution was like doing weird stuff, Swerve was gambling at Raw Underground. So I feel like that's not true. Anywho. So Sonya says a lot of stuff that like I kind of feel like, again, in the same vein as like how Drew McIntyre was talking when he was on Raw and talking to Randy. I feel like a lot of what she was saying was kind of like obviously kayfabe, but like maybe not so far off base, but like, and maybe not like directly at Mandy, but like I feel like there's probably a lot of like female wrestlers that have probably gotten more opportunities than they normally would because they're hot.
Oh yeah, Sonya was definitely channeling her inner Drew McIntyre today.
Yeah, I mean her whole thing was like, oh Mandy, like her whole like she said that like everything she has is like her face basically.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many women that might like be better technically, but just not as attractive. And so when Sonya was saying that, which Sonya has said before, I was like, aw, Sonya. How true you are. But you still must be a heel for saying these honest things. I mean, that's literally... WWE sanctioned a movie about a girl saying essentially the same things.
Mm-hmm.
Then they all became friends in the end, so it was fine. As Mandy is making these comments, Heavy Machinery comes out to attack Miz and Morrison for kind of making fun of Mandy Rose's hair, but also at the same time for having Sonya on. And you would have thought that that would have led into a Heavy Machinery Miz and Morrison match, but no, we had to wait until later in the episode for that because...
That's the main event for some reason.
They could have made anything the main event. They decided to use... you know what? Whatever.
Let's move on.
Yeah, please. We then had Cesaro versus Lince Dorado. Probably the most attractive match that we saw all night.
Yeah, because it actually had an ending that didn't have interference.
And like, maybe it's just because like watching Lucha House Party wrestle is always kind of a treat. Watching luchadors in general. And Lucha House Party doesn't seem to have quite the same problems with lucha wrestling and WWE as Legato does, but whatever. That's a different story. It's a different color of brand.
It's a different perspective. It's a different perspective.
Sure. Lindsay does his sweet little handsprings, but then gets caught in a little bit of a backbreaker that doesn't actually break his back. Cesaro slams him to the canvas. Lindsay manages to do his head scissors on Cesaro and then does them again, sending Cesaro out of the ring. And then the lights flicker. At that point, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. Retribution is cross-brand or something. I don't Cesaro delivers another backbreaker to Lindsay. And Lindsay was looking a little tired at this point, which I think is the weirdest part, because, like, the match with Grand Metalik and Lindsay tonight, or Grand Metalik last week and Lindsay tonight, they look tired really early on. For guys who, like, can go through, like, a long-ass match doing all the aerial stuff they do, I'm like, I don't believe that you're actually tired.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe that. Cesaro punches Lindsay's chest a couple of times. Lindsay manages to deliver a nice jawbreaker to Cesaro. And then some chops to his chest. He jumps off of his chest, backflips into a standing position, because gravity just does not apply to these men. Somehow. He manages his springboard stunner and then does the typical, what is normally a trifecta of moonsaults off the ropes. He only manages to do 2. Because then Shinsuke steps in and is a little bit annoying and distracts Lindsay. But then Lindsay reverses a pile driver from Cesaro to slam Cesaro into the mat. Covers. It doesn't matter. Cesaro's there to prove a point. And he neutralizes Lindsay, sending him back first into the canvas for the pin and the win. And quite literally, the only actual pin we see.
We see 2. We see 2. Yeah, because Sheamus versus Corbin ended in a pin with the help of.
But that was part of a match that ended in a DQ.
Did it end in DQ?
Corbin was fighting Jeff Hardy. Sheamus interrupted.
No, but then we had Sheamus versus Corbin.
Oh, yeah, I guess that was a real match.
With the help.
I'm calling this the only real match. Yeah. I was, much psychology just to unpack there too. Anyways, Otis was mad backstage after this match. Tucky was there to comfort him. Kayla came in. I noticed that Tucker's like looking kind of slim. He slimmed down a little bit. I don't know what he's been doing in his time off, but good for him. But basically Otis is angry and says that because he's angry, Miz and Morrison better watch their backs, because if they don't, he's gonna destroy them. Which, even when he's in a good mood, he seems to be able to destroy them, so I don't know why being angry is much of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Then we sort of had Firefly Funhouse, but it wasn't really Firefly Funhouse, it was just The Fiend coming out. Which is cool. We see The Fiend's walkout music, well, we haven't seen
it since WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I think WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think so.
I was very confused by this segment, because it was basically the same thing we got at the end of last SmackDown. Alexa was in the ring wearing the same exact thing she wore last week. Fiend was about to put his fingers in her mouth again, but then she caresses his face, but are we seeing an alternate reality where she kind of accepts being part of the Bray Wyatt? I'm confusion.
So, yeah. It comes out, walkout music and all, and that was really cool. I not only do we not see Fiend's walkout music, but we also don't see Bray Wyatt's more neutralized version of that walkout music very often at all.
Mm-hmm.
since Bray has been part of a cinematic match and then mostly Firefly Funhouse since Money in the Bank. However, it was confusing because like you and I were both sitting there like, oh, no, this is just a recap of last week. Maybe we just are getting like the walkout with it. Because Alexa Bliss had not been in any part of SmackDown for us to acknowledge that she was like there. And on top of that, she wasn't like referenced at all in Firefly Funhouse to reference that she wasn't there. Instead, if somebody caresses my face the way that Alexa caressed the Fiend's face, they're probably smooching later. So that was weird.
Mylon brought up a couple good points. First up, maybe she's Sister Abigail now. Maybe the Fiend does this, like does the fingers in the mouth thing if they don't accept him. And then like it keeps going until they accept it. I don't know.
It is an interesting point to bring up about the way that her caressing his face did stop him from doing anything, because like she did put her hand up to his arm and then caress his face. I just don't know how you take the Wyatt family story and how you take the story of Sister Abigail, like, and how you take something that's, I don't want to say like as old as that, but like as old as that, more or less, as far as like wrestler storylines exist, and then suddenly say, "Hey, remember this popular wrestler that you see every week, constantly, almost incessantly? He's part of it." It's like,
well, I mean, I get it because he's trying to tempt Braun, but also Braun said he doesn't care about Alexa Bliss. He straight up said that today. Yeah, when he called in.
His voice right now is like white noise to me. I feel bad about that.
Yeah, no, he was like, I don't care about Alexa Bliss, and then mentioned SummerSlam. Like, I thought Braun was dead, and we had new Braun. I want new Braun.
Let me stop you right there.
You're gonna say it was all a dream?
Right here. Yeah.
Okay.
I've taken enough screenwriting classes to know that's not the way out. Anyways, what I was going to say is, first of all, I do want to comment before we go any further into what Braun said by saying Braun was 100% filming from like his living room.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he was definitely, he had the camera like here and he was just looking down into it.
It's like how your parents FaceTime.
Exactly. I could 100% see his like Florida like condo looking like my grandmother's living room down there. Just like nice leather couch, sliding door out to the backyard by a pond where alligators come out of every once in a while, because you could see all the light coming in. I was like, could they not have just had him come in this week and just film against like some cement blocks or something? I don't know. I guess for very little. And SmackDown does continually give me less than I asked for, which is shocking, because that's basically nothing. However, that being said, I've watched enough movies, I've watched enough TV shows, I've read enough fan fiction. No. What do when your greatest enemy goes after the woman you love?
Kill the woman you love.
Hurt you.
Oh. Huh? What?
What you do is you say, I don't care about them. Yeah, it's going to hurt their feelings, but then the person that you're fighting, your enemy, is going to say, oh, he doesn't care about her? Whatever. I don't need her. And someone else say he actually does care about her. I don't know. Does he have a dog? Then you go after them.
No matter how you spin it, this is not going to work because everybody knows Braun cares about Alexa. Everybody knows it. But if he does what you says, it wouldn't make sense because we haven't seen them together in a very long time. It wouldn't fit to anyone who doesn't follow them outside of wrestling. And
However,
if he does kill her,
however,
that makes the most sense, I feel like.
however,
Yes.
however, what if my dreams come true and I get Braun and Alexa Bliss back together again?
No. No, it's not gonna happen.
Why do you hurt me every day?
Alexa Bliss is very happy with
so
Ryan
bad.
Cabrera.
But he's so small and Braun is so tall.
And Alexa's so small.
Exactly. It's the ideal height just difference. He is massive and she is puny. I'll bring my hands down here for emphasis. I want Braun holding her again. I asked for so little.
Bray needs members of the Wyatt family, and Alexa's that
Get
person.
Luke back. I don't care.
Luke is busy. He's got other fish to fry. Or other gators to fry.
Just get twin Braun and take him and the guy that they set on fire.
Where is this new Braun, this Franken Braun? Why did he show up for 5 seconds and we haven't gotten him? They could have just done this. Braun drowns in the lake. Braun drowns. He's dead. But you still have Braun employed by having this new Braun show up as part of the Wyatt family. The Universal title is technically his, making it technically Bray's. And then you have old Bray. Turns out he's still alive. You can cut back to that swamp. He comes out of the lake and challenges Bray for a title match for the title because it's technically his. Because I'm sure Franken Braun would give it to Bray. It's that simple. You don't need to convolute everything.
Listen, Mark. There's so many things that are just so simple, especially in SmackDown, and every single time the writers are like, what if we went down this really convoluted, nonsensical road and said, screw you, fans?
No, Mike, I did not put more than 5 minutes of thought into this. I thought I had this storyline in my head as soon as I saw Franken Braun show up on the screen at Extreme Rules. That is immediately where my mind went with this. I didn't need more than 5 minutes for this.
The wrestlers straight up walk into like the writing room, or the writers straight up walk into the writing room for SmackDown, and they're just like, they throw some darts at the board, and they're like, yeah, we don't know how this is going to work, but the fans are just going to have to deal with it. And then they walk out, they go home. A 10-minute meeting.
And then where did Dr. Frankenstein Bray go? Was he just there for Extreme Rules?
Yeah, no, I miss Old Bray. Old Bray was cool. Why do we have... I like Firefly Funhouse Bray too. Don't get me wrong. I love Bray in his many forms.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they were like, we're going back to the swamp because we've got Old Bray here with his Hawaiian shirt. And then they were like, but we left Old Bray at the swamp as well. It's like, why did you make me think that I was going back in time for a little bit here? I thought I was getting old, slow walkout, weird ass song Bray. And not
it seems like
shit.
It seems like all we were supposed to get from that swamp fight was Alexa Bliss is involved now, and the Fiend's back. Nothing at all relating to Braun. Just those two things. Nothing related to the Wyatt family. Braun is still the champion. Because I think they're doing a title match.
We assume.
I think they're doing a title match at SummerSlam because Fiend wants the title. Oh my god. They could have done a whole fake out where Franken Braun, everybody at WWE still thinks he's real Braun.
The thing that blows my mind is that when you say it the way you've said it, we had the Extreme Rules match, which had me, which had almost no real ending that made any sense. And we had Old Bray, regular Braun, Franken Braun, Sister Abigail, Alexa Bliss,
and then Fiend.
Old Bray, and we assume regular Braun fought each other. And we never knew who actually came out of the swamp. The only thing that actually came out of the swamp that's definitive is Alexa Bliss.
No, Fiend.
So
Fiend
really,
what
what was the point for? No, like also is that like this was the main event of Extreme Rules, right? And all I'm getting out of it is that I read into one moment for far too long enough to make a meme about it and think about it for another week. But also, your main event at Extreme Rules had no result and no outcome. What?
This was supposed like doing like a swamp fight like this is supposed to be the crux of the story, kind of like the Boneyard match, like the Money in the Bank corporate match. This is supposed to be kind of the be all end all, or like the big hurdle of that story. It seems like, as Milam said, it just served for Braun to get edgier.
He could have gotten mad for other things!
He should have been mad this whole time. I mean, he had The Miz and Morrison provoking him, and then he also had Bray being Bray. Like, oh my god. They wasted such, like, an important match and, like, this incredible character, Bray, on this horrible storyline.
Their whole thing, by the way, I think you guys finally understand why I drink so much during this wrestling stuff, because, like, Smackdown requires at least 3 beers during the podcast and 14 prior. That being said, the whole thing with Extreme Rules this time around, which is often the point of Extreme Rules, is that it's crazy, it's wild, it's insane, it's gut-wrenching. This Extreme Rules, they were like, well, we've only got trainees, so we're going to make this as crazy as we can. We're going to have somebody take an eye from another man, which I had been dreading. I was dreading that match. Something that is fake and has no bearing on my life. I was actually dreading because I was uncomfortable with the idea. I would have rather have seen Seth Rollins puke for $9.99 a month as the main event than whatever the hell I had to sit through watching for absolutely no outcome. And rather, the outcome that we did get was an outcome I could have watched on SmackDown.
Yeah.
The outcome did not come to fruition until SmackDown. I didn't have to pay $9.99 a month.
And I mean, they could have made it a million times better if they just filmed it in the daytime. Everybody knows a cinematic match like that is not, WWE, like, Michael Cole saying, now we go to our camera guy out in the swamp covering this match. No, everybody knows that match it's like a movie scene, it's disconnected from reality. Nobody's thinking to themselves, oh, in the swamp, Bray and Braun are fighting right now. We could go over there. No, it's disconnected from reality.
Somewhere in America.
I'd rather see it in the daytime. I mean, we shot a whole horror film in the daytime, a whole horror short film in the daytime, and it works just as well if it was at nighttime. And the only difference is you can see it when it's in the daytime.
Because the thing is that if you're watching a horror movie, normally, like, at least for me, because I'm a puss, when, like, you're watching a horror film, like, say, like, it takes place in a house that's haunted or something, or, like, somebody's attacking a house that's haunted, you're like, oh, man, the night's so scary because things are going creak and boo, 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 blah, blah, blah. But when it's daytime, you're like, oh, okay, Made it through the night, boys. Everyone's awake. We're alive. Let's get down to business. But when the scary stuff also happens in the day, you're like, I was safe because the sun came up. Even like with me personally, because I don't sleep very well. And oh, Liz can't sit through a horror movie without her ears plugged. You should have seen me watching what was it, Neighbors or something?
Yeah, The Neighbors.
I got my ears plugged for the entire movie. Sorry, Pete. But like for me in the day, for me like when I can't sleep, there was a day recently where I was up all night. The sun came up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, sun's up, feeling good, feeling alive again." And then there was really loud banging on the side wall attached to our apartment. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna die now." And it was like intensified fear because, like, it's daytime. People are supposed to be awake and protecting me from potential murderers. But it was daytime, and there was no one awake to protect me from those things. It's so annoying that WWE subscribes to the same like horror tropes that we used to like fall for in the early 2000s when like the rise, like around 2001, 2002, when horror started like becoming a really big genre for like the catharsis. Oh my god, I am just so tired. I'm so tired of everything that SmackDown has been doing lately.
Yeah.
And the swamp fight and Bray and this whole storyline, if it does not turn around in some like fantastical way sometime soon, probably at SummerSlam, is going to become the same thing that I yell about in the same ferocity like I yelled about like karaoke. Unless Alexa Bliss does something, she's just a prop. She's
Alexa
just a
Bliss
prop at
does
the end of the
karaoke
day.
now. Alexa Bliss does karaoke now.
If I have to see swamp karaoke with Alexa Bliss, I'm gonna have a panic attack.
Oh god.
I'm going to break down.
But it's with Alexa Bliss, The Fiend, and Dexter Lumis. And Scarlett.
I'm gonna be like, I'll be doing like the podcast with like my laptop in bed, like just slumped over with an ice pack next to my head, just holding the signs up like, where am I? That's where I'll be.
But we could go on for days about what's wrong with this and the fact that we should do a horror podcast. But I think we should move on, unfortunately.
We can make a horror podcast called What You Missed When Your Ears Were Plugged. It'll be about me. It'll be Mark telling me what I missed during a horror movie. While I was like burying my head in a pillow like an ostrich.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, you want to talk about the next horror story from SmackDown, Jeff Hardy?
Yeah, I guess. For like 2 minutes. We have like 5 minutes.
If I have to.
We have like 5 minutes left in the podcast, so let's just run through everything.
What's that mean? 5 minutes left in the podcast.
I wish we had 5 minutes left so we could just swing through all this trash.
After the news segment, there is no timer. It's just me and you riding through this into the sunset.
Everything from the Cesaro and Lindsay fight is trash. I am gonna put that out there. Everything after that is trash.
Sorry, this gin smells like I'm drinking bathroom cleaner.
The only thing here that's not trash after the Cesaro Lindsay fight is the interview with Big E. That was great and inspirational.
I want Big E to talk to me like that when I wake up in the mornings. Anyways, before we get into that, because I have many things to say about that, mostly nice things about Big E, I want to point out that I have nail polish on only one of my hands. This is my dominant hand, and I have picked all the nail polish off of it. I noticed that. I meant to paint this before the podcast, and I'm just like, these nails are so long because they don't break. These nails, I have to do things. This is a working hand. Anyways, so we had Jeff Hardy versus Corbin. To recap a match, I feel like I haven't recapped a match in like 5 years now. My first note for this match was I hate Jeff Hardy, and that he's being a grade A fucking weirdo.
He didn't have his
She
contacts
was.
in.
He did not have his contacts in, which is probably why he
Lost.
aired the way he did. At one point, once Corbin got in the ring, and you missed this, and this is why I said he was being a weirdo. At one point, he got into the ring, and Corbin got into the ring with him. And Corbin's like dancing around, like doing his shit, like I'm the fucking king. Jeff Hardy, who's still bouncing like he's on MDMA, just goes. I was like,
"That's corny."
I don't know. Stop. I don't want to see that.
I'm tired of Jeff Hardy. I'm tired of how WWE is making Corbin lose every fight he's in.
The thing that blows my mind is that, like, when Jeff Hardy was, like, kind of teasing his comeback during the whole, like, Jeff Hardy, like, what is it? The same thing that they did for Undertaker with, like, backstory and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When they were teasing that, I was like, oh my god, Jeff Hardy's coming back. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
They have made him so corny that I cannot stand to watch him. It drives me insane. It makes me so uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So Jeff Hardy slams Corbin like first into the mat, and he does it a couple times. I think they call it his atomic drop, and I was like, his atomic drop is just taking a guy's leg and slamming it into the mat. That doesn't feel very atomic to me. And that's not going back to like my backbreaker comments, but like I feel like an atomic drop better mean that like you're going to throw your opponent to the mat.
There better be an atomic bomb with this move in your pocket. If not, don't name it that.
If you're not committing a war crime, I don't want to see it.
Also, Mike said, did you know that Jeff Hardy has a drinking problem?
What? Oh god. You know what? If we can be thankful for one thing tonight, we did not have to sit through a Jeff Hardy monologue of him talking about his alcoholism.
God.
One perk, one silver lining to the day.
Yeah.
That's literally all I can draw from tonight, was that we did not have to listen to a monologue. Because the person that was making fun of his drinking problem dropped him in like a 5 second slap.
I hope
we'll get to that.
I hope that, like, if I was trying to sabotage WWE right now and make them as self-aware as possible, for the next Smackdown episode, I would have a whole montage recapping Jeff Hardy and his addiction again. And show everything from the car accident to being beat up by Sheamus to backlash with Sheamus to getting kicked in the face in the interview, all the way up until the bar fight. And then getting hit by Corbin a few times. And then just have it be Jeff Hardy is sitting in an interview with Renee. And then no words. Just cut away to Bray Wyatt.
The worst part too is that like we still don't know if or if Sheamus was the one who actually drove Jeff Hardy's car into Elias. We don't know that.
I think everyone can say for sure it's Sami Zayn. Everyone can say that.
Sami Zayn literally retweeted AJ Styles' tweet about having the Intercontinental Championship and said whatever, in context of whatever AJ said, that it's something about F for fraudulent.
It was like, how would you rate his reign?
I'm sorry. You cannot tell me that when we have Sheamus, who does nothing but get angry at people and kick them in the face, and Sami Zayn, who's a little trickster of a man, God love him, but he's a little trickster of a man. Yeah. You're telling me that you stripped him of his title? He is not one of the suspects to hit Elias with his car? Guarantee you, we are not going to find out until 6 months from now when Elias is finally medically cleared.
But before that even happens, Sami Zayn's transferred to Raw, so we'll never find out.
Stop. That's not funny to joke about.
That will happen.
It will, I know. But, like, I just thought about it, and I was like, we're probably not going to know until Elias, like, comes back from his injury, and he's like, I looked into the eyes of the guy who hit me with his car, and it was Sami Zayn! I'm just going to sit there like...
Yes, we all know. We knew 5 years ago.
Thanks, Elias. You really helped us out again. Guaranteed. Vince McMahon hates that man. I guarantee, like, I have it in my soul that he hates him. Because Elias went from being, like, this schmuck that both Michael and Corey make fun of, even though he's kind of a face, for singing, falling from a balcony, to getting hit by a car. You cannot tell me that somebody in the writer's room does not fucking hate that man. I hate that man. I cannot stand Elias. And I make fun of him a lot, but I'm not going to make fun of him on this podcast in the same way that I make fun of him in private, because it's probably a bad thing to do.
At this point, we just feel bad for him. He's been missing this whole time.
You feel bad for him.
I feel bad for him.
I just miss him because I think that he knows the secret of what we're waiting for, and I cannot stand the whole, oh, Sheamus hit Jeff Hardy with his car, and then he makes fun of alcoholism. It's like, alright, sure.
You want to move on to the next part?
Oh yeah, we're still talking about this match, unfortunately.
Oh.
Yeah. So Hardy slams Corbin like first into the mat with his atomic drop, I guess. And then he clotheslines Corbin. This is a drop kick to Corbin's balls, and then kicks Corbin in the face with sort of a is almost a drop kick. We'll call it a drop kick for my sake, because I didn't take good enough notes on this match, because I just genuinely don't care about Jeff Hardy. Corbin then clotheslines Jeff Hardy and throws him out of the ring, and then slams him into the announce desk. I hate calling it the announce desk. I want to call it the announcer's desk. Announce desk sounds weird. Then there's some sweet little elbows to Jeff Hardy's shoulders, which have probably already sustained enough damage with all of his swan dives onto, cement. It's fine. I'm sure his surgeon watches these matches just like with his fingers crossed that Jeff Hardy's going to do something stupid that'll screw up his back again. He manages to get a shoulder lock on Corbin. Corbin powers out, slams Jeff Hardy to the ground. Jeff Hardy baseball slides into Corbin. And Corbin's not looking too hot. He manages to get Jeff Hardy pounded into the canvas. Sends some knees into his chest that basically launch him from one side of the ring out to the other. And you're like, wow, Corbin's super powerful. And then you realize, oh, probably Jeff Hardy rolled that way because he was setting up for what was about to happen, which was Sheamus storming down the ramp, rogue kicking without a second thought Jeff Hardy in the jaw.
No, he rogue kicked Corbin.
No, Corbin kneed Jeff Hardy in the chest, sending him out. We joked about this. We laughed about this, actually, quite a lot. Because Jeff Hardy had, like, this whole thing with Sheamus for weeks and months, and it was never ending. And then Sheamus comes down the ramp and kicks Jeff Hardy in the face because he's mad at Corbin, and then gets into the ring to yell at Corbin.
Right.
No,
I was just confused because, like, why wouldn't he kick Corbin? Because Corbin was the one who sabotaged the fight, but it makes sense because
I'm the one that takes all the notes.
Corbin would have lost the fight. I get it. Okay.
I take notes for a reason.
I'm not doubting that. I'm doubting WWE's logic.
There. But yeah, so Sheamus, who's had like over a month's worth of, if not over 2 months worth, I think maybe, of vitriol between him and Jeff Hardy. After everything, after the bar fight, after everything that we've been through, and after Sheamus's horrible suspenders, Sheamus comes marching down the ramp Bro kicks Jeff Hardy in the face because he's an inconvenience and nothing else. No other reason. There was no other fighting between the two of them. He just kicks him in the face, knocks him out, and says, anyways, back to what I was actually doing, which was yelling at Corbin for his friend interfering with Sheamus's match earlier.
Milam, I get what you're saying, that they were trying to tell a story with the DQ stuff, and I didn't mind the fact that they DQ'd these two fights. I am a little mad that they DQ'd most of the fights today. But this one I was really happy why and how they DQ'd it. But there's also the level of consistency between this and the next fight where there was that level of intervention that didn't end in DQ. If it was just these past two fights where there was interference that led to DQ, fine, that would have been great. But the fact that they then have Matt Riddle interrupt, don't DQ it, and then DQ the final fight as well. Like the main event match, not DQ'd. Or it is DQ'd. Sorry.
They do DQ. They do DQ this match. Second of all, I'm sorry. Milam, don't bring the suspenders back.
Bring the suspenders back.
Do not bring the suspenders.
Bring the suspenders back.
He looked so weird. There's no way you can defend what he looked like that night. And the fact that he seemed so in love with this look that he posted a picture to his Twitter and then wore it again to last week's SmackDown. He looked like a ridiculous newsie or a chimney sweep.
A ridiculous newsie.
We're fans of the same soccer team, though, so I respect anything he does. Anyways, that's just hiding under the bed now. She does not want to listen to me. So then, Sheamus and Corbin are fighting. And if I stutter one more time tonight, I swear to God, I'm going to send myself through the window. In what I guess is a sanctioned match, because there's a ref reffing it, and no one's saying, hey guys, get out of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I guess this is allowed. Sheamus drops his knees into Corbin's face several times. Corbin ends up outside of the ring and then basically clotheslines his arm through Sheamus's neck. Throws Sheamus into the barricade and then punches into his chest. And then slams his poor little Irish noggin, his sweet little Irish noggin, into the announce desk. But Sheamus manages to get a leg up. He throws Corbin into the barricade and then says, you know what, you threw me into this earlier. You can also experience the same thing I experienced by also slamming his head into the announce desk.
Also, you might see a lot of chat messages talking about a urinal. That's because I covered up the Smackdown logo with a screenshot of the bar fight where Sheamus is shoving Jeff Hardy's head into the urinal. Because that's how I feel about tonight's Smackdown.
I'm going back to my notes. Anyways. So Corbin gets thrown into the corner post because Sheamus is like, I also experienced this earlier. Do you want to also know what it's like?
Mm-hmm.
But then Shay gets onto the top rope. Corbin dodges him and slams him into the canvas. And then is once again, poor Sheamus's body is once again sent shoulder first into the post. My little pale boy, my little pale lad, my Irish brethren. At least I tan and don't burn in the sun. My God, Sheamus. Nice arm lock on Sheamus. And then Riddle comes out of nowhere. Doesn't do anything. More or less leapfrogs over Corbin's head. Corbin is obviously distracted, giving Shay the opportunity to bro kick Corbin in the face, and pin him, I guess, for the win. There's First of all, the fact that nothing was DQ'd because of Corbin is kind of shocking to me because of Matt Riddle. Because, like, how could you possibly miss him? He was jumping over and through the ring for, like, a solid minute. But in addition to that, then it leads, like, a weird alliance circuit. Because Jeff Hardy is aligned with Matt Riddle, who is against Corbin, who is aligned with Chad, who is now against Sheamus, who is against Jeff Hardy. It's where are we going? You know, where are we headed with this? I just want to know, because I don't understand. I understand that not every match has to have like a very obvious like, oh, you're aligning yourself with this person, you're aligning yourself with this person kind of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But if it sort of seems like because Jeff Hardy has gotten mad at Chad, was aligned with the other, with the biggest heel in SmackDown, more or less, Corbin. It sort of seems like Sheamus is 100% positioning himself as like, I'm here in this corner, and I will literally fight every single person in SmackDown, so help me God, until I can quite legitimately murder Jeff Hardy. It seems like the only bad thing.
You see, when Corbin first announced the King's Ransom, I had my hopes up. I thought it was going to be this thing where every wrestler in SmackDown wants a piece of this action and goes after Matt Riddle, giving him kind of this rite of passage into SmackDown. That would have been great. That would have been awesome. But now you have this like convoluted who's siding with who storyline that kind of it meshes in a weird way. I think definitely in this case simplicity would really make it a whole lot better. And it seems like they had that storyline and are now kind of going a different way. I don't know.
It just feels weird for Sheamus to sort of take help, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody who is so closely aligned with Jeff Hardy. Like, that seems weird.
Yeah, for sure.
I just don't know where this is headed. This is meant to be like a Corbin and Sheamus storyline or something like that. Because why would Sheamus be trying to stop King's Ransom against a guy who is BFFs with the guy he just fought at a bar and bullied for 2 months straight?
No.
Does that make sense?
No, not at all.
I've got problems. I'm also my other problem is that there is 30 women in The Bachelor.
Are we back to this?
I just remember that I was looking at this earlier. Because I'm on my phone, I can't just control F to like Sarah. But there is someone on The Bachelor named Eunice. Anyways, so Bayley is backstage after this match. And she apparently seems nervous, according to Sasha. And Sasha asks if she's okay. And Bayley's like, hey, I kind of wish that you wouldn't have put me up against Asuka at Raw on Monday. And I just sat there like, well, you've done that to Sasha multiple times. So taste your own medicine, I guess, huh? And then some dweeby little schmuck from wherever comes out and is like, could you ladies come to the ring? You've got a meeting, a video conference with Stephanie. I was like, all right. Weird. I didn't even realize there is a Sarah in The Bachelor. I understand it's a common name, however, I'm going with it. I don't want to look through the next 6 ladies. But just like I didn't even notice that was with Stephanie until they were like, "Oh my god, why do we have a meeting with Stephanie?" I was like, "Oh, did he say that?" That happened, and then it went on to other things that also annoyed me. But then we went to Big E's promo. Why did Big E have a promo? No clue. He was not fighting tonight. But my god, was it delightful.
Oh, yeah.
He is almost always, and it kind of feels like he's like a little extra right now because of like being alone. But he is just fired up in the most intense way. And I'm just happy that like he's getting this opportunity to be on his own. And there's a big part of me sort of that's hoping that there's a SummerSlam match with his name and maybe like Cesaro's name on it. I'm sort of hoping that happens just like as like a Retribution sort of match.
Yeah.
Also, then there is there is Payback, I think, a week after. I'm pretty sure it is Payback, right? That's the
it's Payback.
It's having. Okay. So I feel like it doesn't happen at SummerSlam. Ain't no better match for Payback, is there? IMO. IMHO.
Oh, yeah.
If you will. Honestly, I really want like Big E saying some inspiring things into like an audio message so that like I can when I wake up I just hear it and I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can take on the day. My therapist is like, why haven't you come to sessions recently? I'm like, I've got Big E on my alarm clock now. It's no big deal. I don't need you anymore. Sorry, honey. Your $200 a week are out the window. As if I see a therapist. Yeah, it's nice to see him getting the same, like, I guess, spotlight, I guess, that he normally would have gotten with Kofi. If not more of one. And I think it's because he's such a good speaker. And I want the best for him, and I want this, like, assuming it is literally only 6 weeks that Kofi is gone, I want these 6 weeks to be a successful 6 weeks for him. I'm really hoping that, like, he doesn't get defeated so much that he's like, I need my boys back, and Kofi comes back finally, and he's like, hey, Big E, we can take this together.
Yeah, I think they're gonna make him destined for something great. I can see him. I mean, we talked about this last time, but I think he's gonna go on to like challenge AJ Styles or like I don't know. He's gonna go for a title, and I'm surprised we didn't see anything with him today besides his promo. But I know he's gonna get something good.
I'm almost kind of happy that we haven't seen him like doing anything today because like I feel like
it would have ended in DQ.
That, but also maybe it means, fingers crossed, that if he's got a storyline coming up, writers are actually working on it as opposed to just being like, here's something we wrote.
The writers?
Put it into production.
Working on something?
Oh, yeah.
Allegedly.
The people that make the show, I was kind of hoping that maybe they would work on something for him as opposed to just throwing caution to the wind and letting him do whatever he wants because it's SmackDown.
What you're saying is having at least one writer writing something for a wrestler that's not Drew McIntyre.
Also not Randy Orton.
You're fired.
I'm the host. I'm the Vince McMahon of this whole thing.
No, you would be fired if you were a part of WWE for making a suggestion like that.
This is the worst BuzzFeed quiz in the world. That's why I haven't been hired by them.
Oh yeah, because you got good ideas.
Yeah, and a writer's background.
Oof.
Anyways.
Yep.
Scrolling. Oh, I felt like Josh Pack. Anyways, after that we had Stephanie McMahon, or as I like to call her, the other Lana Del Rey.
She really does look like Lana Del Rey.
She does. Especially now that Lana got like, well, this doesn't matter to you at all. But Lana got like there's the Karen haircut that Bayley has, but then there's the Karen highlights, which are just, you have light brown hair.
Oh, yeah, and you get like the
and then
blonde
you dye your hair
streaks.
Yeah. That's why if I ever get my hair balayaged again or like bleached out, which I plan to do, if I ever do that though, I need to like know that the person knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Or else I will also look like a Karen, and then I'll have to dye my entire head to bleach, like I did the first time around, and let my roots grow back out. We can't afford that, can we, my sweet dead ends? Anyways, so Stephanie comes out and she's like, "Ladies, I just want to congratulate you. I just want to congratulate you because you achieved so much." And I was like, "Stephanie, if you don't throw a curveball into this space right now, do just a little more than the Yankees pitchers have done for me, please. I'm asking for like one wild pitch tonight, a good way."
I liked the wild pitch that she threw today. I liked it.
I didn't, because I think it's useless. Anyways, just give me 1 second. I'll go through this on my own, and then you tell me why you didn't hate it.
Okay.
Because I hated it. It's fine. Anyways, so Stephanie comes out, and she's like, "Oh, ladies, congratulations. Amazing, whatever." But I also know that Stephanie hates everyone because she's Vince McMahon's daughter, and I respect that. I had hopes. But Stephanie says, "Bayley, Sasha, you've done great. Whatever. Fuck off. Go to SummerSlam. Have fun." Stephanie says, "Bayley, you've done so good. But fuck you. You're gonna have a triple brand Royal Rumble next week. All 3 brands. Red, blue, yellow. All 3 of them. But you can find an opponent to fight for your Smackdown title at SummerSlam." I said, "Alright. Cardona peg, I guess. Whatever. It doesn't matter." However, Stephanie wouldn't have made just like an ounce more sense. An ounce more sense. You just said, "Hey, Bayley, you're going to fight whoever the hell wins Sasha's SummerSlam match, whether it's Sasha or whomstever." Because then I would have gotten the appearance, because I know Sasha's gonna beat Asuka or whatever. I don't know. Is Sasha fighting at SummerSlam? Oh, Bayley's fighting.
No, I think on Raw, Bayley's fighting Asuka. Raw and Bayley's fighting Asuka to see if Asuka can challenge Sasha. I think at SummerSlam.
Right. No, it is. It's for SummerSlam. So in theory, Sasha is supposed to be fighting someone at SummerSlam. And far be it from WWE to pretend like a person isn't going to SummerSlam or going to a pay-per-view. Because there have been so many times where they were like, "Oh, Bayley's going to fight so-and-so for this title that like is also up for grabs for Sasha." We haven't seen that come to fruition. Like, we haven't seen like an opportunity where Bayley and Sasha could fight each other come fruition. Would have made so much more sense for Sasha to be in this position where it's like, well, if I win, I have to fight my best friend, and if I lose my title. and that person fights my best friend. It would have made so much more sense.
I mean, she didn't even say who Sasha would be fighting. She just said it could be Asuka, or it could be the one fighting your friend. But she didn't really say for sure who she'd be fighting. I mean, she might pull a curveball and say, whoever wins this fight has to fight Sasha. So Bailey, you win this, you're fighting Sasha in a title match.
There were so many opportunities in this one particular promo to drive a wedge between their friendship. So many opportunities, whether it be vis-a-vis Bailey potentially losing her title, to Bailey having to fight Sasha at Payback. So many opportunities, and guess what? We got none of them.
I mean, I'm still looking forward to this triple brand Rumble. I'm really excited for that. You lost your headphones. Oh no, get composed.
I didn't realize where my hands were. I have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Are you more excited to see this triple threat Royal Rumble thing?
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, Stephanie called it a triple threat Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Did she call it a triple threat Royal Rumble or a triple threat Battle Royale?
She said triple brand Battle Royale.
Oh, okay. I don't know why I said Royal Rumble in my notes. I screwed myself over. Anyways, so are you more excited for this because you want to know who's going to go against Bailey at SummerSlam? Or because you just want to know who the 3 competitors are?
I mean, it might not be 3 competitors, like one from each brand. I also found Cultaholic's article on this matchup. Let's see. Do they say at all any details about this? No, they do not, so that doesn't help me at all. But it could be like maybe 3 wrestlers from each brand, something like that, or 2 from each brand. If they're gonna call it a battle royale, I don't think it's gonna be just 1 from each. I think it's gonna be at least 2.
Oh, they said she said triple threat battle royale, which means 3 people.
No, she said
each other.
She said triple brand battle royale.
I thought she said triple threat.
No, it was triple brand.
I just don't understand how someone's going to win the SmackDown Women's title if they're not on SmackDown.
Well, Sasha Banks won the Raw Women's title, and she's on SmackDown.
Yeah, well, she doesn't seem to have a brand restriction to her name, so it doesn't matter, does it?
And whoever won this won't either. I mean, you could have Io Shirai, who can technically move between brands. But I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because they are thinning the barrier between brands, as we see with Retribution. So yeah, they could have like Io Shirai, maybe Dakota Kai or Tegan Nox from NXT. SmackDown would probably be obviously Nikki Cross, not Alexa Bliss, probably Naomi. Or Sonya, depends how far they are in her storyline by that time. And then Raw, they'd probably have Asuka, and who else is in Raw? That's a woman. Maybe Shayna. So, it might be Shayna versus Bailey. I think that might be what it comes down to.
May I say something?
Yes.
First of all, Sean Ross of Fightful, who I trust with almost every WWE opinion that I form, also hates Retribution. That being said, Bronson Reed, everybody's favorite NXT fighter. I say that because Bronson Reed is my least favorite NXT fighter as of now.
What?
Ah, isn't that funny? I came around to Cameron Grimes quicker than I came around to him.
Yeah.
Anywho, Bronson retweeted that legit could have smashed all of hashtag Retribution by myself. No fucking shit, dude. Of course you could.
Anyway, God.
My God, I hate Bronson Reed so much.
You want to just, like, fly through the rest of this episode because there's...
I want to take my sweet time because we're about to get to the point where I'm going to get mad. So, we then have Miz and Morrison backstage. They're just talking shit. It's the Miz and Morrison. It's what they do. It's what they do best. I really thought I was going to have time to work on something I wanted to work on, but I'm not going to, apparently. Then we have Miz and Morrison versus Heavy Machinery, something that we've been waiting for several minutes at this point. Johnny's taking his time. Tucker finally decides to slam him into the canvas, using his weight against Morrison, which, mind you, I think is mostly muscle now. Because Tucker's looking nice. I'm sorry, Pete. I hit the tripod, and I apologize to the cat. He clotheslines Morrison. The lights start flickering again. Otis throws Morrison into the ropes, but Morrison bounces off and slides off of Otis's back to tag in The Miz. Miz slaps Otis a little bit, but Otis is just kind of doing his little gyrations. And tags Tucky in so they can tandem body slam Miz's head. Which I didn't like. I didn't like that at all. Not one bit. Tucky dives off the apron onto Miz and Morrison. And then I stopped highlighting my notes because it just got weird. Basically, Morrison punches Tucky, and both Miz and Morrison send their knees into his ribs. Now, Tucky is against the ropes. Morrison, who is not tagged in at this point, takes a cheap shot to his head. Miz goes in for the catapult with Tucky in hand. But unfortunately, the person that was supposed to be kind of knocking Tucky in the head, I assume, Morrison, is headbutted by Tucky.
No, he's punched. He's punched in the head.
At this point, Otis becomes the man of the hour. Comes in, murders both of the men, more or less. Caterpillars onto Morrison. Miz, I don't even know where these notes are going. It just says Miz dodges as Otis out, and Otis dives into the steel steps.
I think we can just skip to the point where Mandy ruins this whole match, and where
that's my next note.
I completely side with Sonya now after Mandy ruins this match.
That's my next point. Mandy then comes out and is fighting Sonya. And it seemed like a fair enough fight for being a sort of out of nowhere fight.
Mm-hmm.
So I meant to mention that Sonya was on the sidelines for this whole thing, kind of pulling a Zelina Vega, just yelling at the guys. Good for her.
But she does it well.
Yeah, listen, Zelina does it just fine.
Oh, yeah.
But Sonya does it in her own special way, which is also just as hot.
Mm-hmm.
And as a lady, wouldn't mind meeting her.
Same.
I respect it. You're not a lady that would also like to meet her.
But I would like to meet her.
Yeah, we all would, Marcus. Bisexual dream. One day I'll be there too.
I just want to say, Mandy's hair looks great short. I think Sonya did her a favor.
She looks like a soccer mom still, even though Sonya did do a great job cutting her extensions. Any whoozy whatsits. It was a pretty fair fight for an ambush. Sonya looked fine. She didn't look like she was in danger in any way. The guys separate them, and they go back at each other. And the guys separate them, and they go back at each other. And it's really just like this for a couple minutes. Finally, Otis and Tucky drag Mandy out of the ring, and I say, hey, we still have like
10 minutes.
Several minutes left. Yeah, like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And then we cut to commercial. I say, but we still have 10 minutes. What? This isn't a main event fight.
Very bad
And
point to
then,
cut to commercial.
yeah. But then we're backstage with Mandy and Sonya. They're still fighting. And then we're back at the ring with Michael, Cole, and Corey, and Retribution comes out, and they decide to chase every cameraman, both Michael and Corey, because, I mean, to be fair, Michael and Corey are bosses. They chase basically everyone within the ring area away, and then attack one guy from the side of the barricade near where the announce table is. And then spend an extraordinarily long time taunting some terrified female trainee. And this is where I started having problems, because they spent an extended period of time taunting this female trainee, which I was like, as a woman, probably one of my biggest fears is being attacked by a group of masked people. So this isn't a great vibe, first of all. And then second of all, I don't know if you want to go into it.
I do.
But it gave me bad vibes. It gave me some really bad vibes, and I didn't like it. It was really uncomfortable, and I didn't like it.
So,
at all.
Here's my gripe with Retribution, and I don't think you got to the rest of it, where they basically just destroy everything in the ring, chainsaw and all. This segment, it was crazy. It was wild. It's what a lot of WWE fans have been begging for, something crazy and wild without harming other people. Besides that poor woman behind the barricade. We got a great reaction from Cole and Corey, and all the camera people too. That part was great. But it very much seems like WWE is trying to sort of exploit the Black Lives Matter movement by having all of these people dressed in all black, most of them people of color, it seems like. I am very much under the impression that one of them is Jey Uso. I saw a lot of people saying Chelsea Green. I don't know for sure, but one of them I'm pretty sure is Jey Uso. It's like,
say them real quick.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that I think there's like 5 of them. Right?
Yeah, 5.
I think there's about 5 of them. 2 of them were girls. One of them had straight blonde hair, it seemed. And I assume that's who people are assuming are Chelsea Green.
Mm-hmm.
But it did give me very bad vibes that, like, it was obvious because you could see hands and faces that 90%, if not 95% of them were not white. And for that many of them to not be white, assuming that these are the people that are the wrestlers that are part of this stable, which I would not put it past WWE to be like, here are the figureheads, and here are the wrestlers that are part of this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't put it past them to do that, but my thing is that, like, even so, realizing that made me kind of feel like this sort of feels like a weird, like the whole thing that, like, certain people, if you will, had, like, certain problems that certain people had with all the Black Lives Matter protests were that, like, oh, they're spray painting our favorite Coach store. It's like, all right, sure.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can continue.
I'll make this quick. Just like that was a major complaint from, like, other people, if you will, and to know what these protests looked like, and to know the people involved in the side of the protests that I would personally like to say that I stand on, it was mostly people in, non-identifying clothing, with masks on, mostly because there's a pandemic happening, but also because people who were identified were then arrested for this Retribution brand to, one, be what looks like primarily non-white people, people of color, with non-identifying clothing, face masks or masks of some sort, and spray painting and destroying stuff. It's like,
And
maybe not the best time to do that.
And like the biggest talking point about the protests is the violence. Whether you're arguing that it's not the protesters that are being violent, or you're arguing that the protests in and of themselves are violent, the Retribution wrestlers, if you want to call them that, they just came in and were senselessly violent. It seems like a conservative wrote this group and was like, yes, be these protesters and just be insanely violent and intimidate and strong arm people for no reason at all. And it didn't help that they looked like the ninjas. They looked like Tozawa's ninjas.
Yeah, I thought about that too, actually.
That they just seem like minions.
I think also things like, it doesn't help when you know where Vince McMahon's political leanings edge towards.
Especially since you know who his wife donated to.
Yeah, the thing too is like, with, not that I support it in any way, I guess, but like, when you have something as big as like WWE during a pandemic, it's like, all right, maybe you're going to try to play your cards right, get on the side of the person who's going to support you in these times, regardless. I haven't looked that deeply into it. I'm just saying that, like, that's a Hi, I see you. That's a possibility as to why they did that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they vote. No one knows how anybody votes because it's private. That being said, she did donate an astronomical ton of money to this man that is running our country directly into the ground. Which, personally, I don't stand by, and I don't think anyone should. With that being said, when you know, because public donations like that are public, when you know how they've donated to the Trump campaign, which is a violent and volatile campaign as it is, you know how that went? See this Retribution gang, just in theory, as it's been posed thus far, supposed to stand against WWE as a whole and like a heel to the entire system, more or less. It kind of just makes you feel like, oh, okay, so you're positing this as if they were members of the propagated violence side of the protests that have happened for months upon months upon months upon months within major cities across the United States. It's like,
I mean, it's one thing if we saw them like doing something for a reason, but all we've seen of them is throw Molotov cocktails at a power generator for no reason and terrorize the ring and the people watching, spray painting nonsensical things other than the WWE logo crossed out. That's it.
can I also say something?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I know, especially during like the Black Lives Matter protests, a lot of like Black people were angry about was that a lot of like the unnecessary violence that happened, because most of the people involved in these protests were protesting in their cities.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, hey, if you're going to cause damage to anything, can you cause damage to things that like aren't small businesses that are run by like two people who just try to make a living.
Yeah.
A lot of the violence that happened, a lot of things that were like burnt out and destroyed, it was done by white people who wanted to look like they were making a statement or like kind of cash in that like I did something for the protest card or something like that. And a lot of black people are like, hey, we're gonna get blamed for that now, so
I definitely
you couldn't, that'd be great.
I definitely think there is a good way you can spin this. Now, albeit them bringing in this faction is a bad thing, mostly because it's at the absolute wrong time. They could have pulled this out months prior or waited months to do this. But the way they could pull it off is to have a figurehead like you were talking about, an Aleister Black, who is legitimately mad at the WWE, and make this very specifically about the WWE, not about anything else. Have them mad at the WWE. Make this completely unrelated to the protesters, completely unrelated to Antifa, completely unrelated to politics. Just make it about these guys mad at the WWE.
What I meant to say was more or less that, like, black people in particular were annoyed that people were, like, setting things on fire and, like, destroying stuff in the name of the Black Lives Matter movement. But it was white people that weren't going to face the, for lack of a better word, retribution that would come from it. The fact that, like, they burnt up what was supposed to be a power generator, like setting something on fire, destroying stuff, like, was supposed to be important to a brand, like the ring, destroying the ring, which is supposed to be important to Smackdown, and spray painting things that are supposed to be important to the people, like the barricades. That made me super uncomfortable, and that made me feel like 100% they were trying to push the idea that this is supposed to be like a pseudo-Antifa, which also, I just want to make a quick point that, like, Antifa feels like it should be a dirty word, but also, like, anti-fascism shouldn't be a dirty word because, hey, maybe your country shouldn't be fascist. We live in this country, too. We are also part of the same country that is dealing with it. If your problem is Antifa, you probably should look at what the anti part of it is, because, oops. But that being said, there is a way that they can spin this to make it look good. However, the fact that they've decided to employ this now, which I almost kind of understand why they would employ it now, because like the ratings have been tanking. Surprisingly, not for SmackDown, but for Raw and NXT, and that's kind of why I thought they would keep this to Raw as opposed to cross-branding it.
Yeah.
But that said, I think that if the response is strong enough, they might try to, like, because they haven't gone far enough where they would have to, like, backtrack in any way. They haven't gone far enough. They would have to, like, say, like, oh, we actually meant this.
Yeah.
They would just have to turn it around slightly. And they have time. WWE has never used their time correctly.
Yeah.
And I think that the fact that, like, now I'm seeing tweets from other people that are like, this is corny, this is stupid, this is not a good idea. Like, Sean Ross said something about how, like, I know I'm going to get responses that were like, oh, if this were on AEW, people would love it. It's like, yeah, but also at the same time, AEW is not run by Vince McMahon, so that's why I'm going to have a problem with it. I don't like this at all. I think it's very tasteless. I think it's very senseless. I think that it is not coming out the right time.
And I think I want to make this my last thought before moving on. I think this is just another corny attempt at WWE trying to be self-aware and making them the heels, as I've been seeing in the chat. It's been done many times prior. But it's them trying to be self-aware and being anti-corporate, making them look better in the process. But you do it so often that, like I said, it comes off as corny.
They have an opportunity, again, they have an opportunity to spin this. They have an opportunity to look at how viewers are reacting to the way they're treating certain people, aka Aleister Black, Tommaso Ciampa, which maybe also note that while this is cross-branding, Retribution has been going between Raw and SmackDown now. They did not go to NXT, which was between the two of them. What are you eating? Hey. Sniffing or are you eating? Can't see. Like sniffing the carpet like there's something down there. But there are people who have like come out being like, I'm kind of annoyed with like what's happening in my career right now, like Tommaso Ciampa. I think okay, you're laying down. Okay. I think that there's a way to spin this so it's like, hey, these people who have said like nasty stuff about us, like, we're giving them a chance to, like, go against us, essentially. Fine. If they do that, that's fine. However, again, if they're using the people that are in those masks, in those ski masks, and those sweatshirts and stuff, if those are the wrestlers, if they take their masks off at some point soon, we realize those are the wrestlers. That's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Because they're the stereotype is going to overwhelm the message.
Oh yeah.
And I just broke my goddamn nail. Oh my god, that hurts so bad.
And we'll use that as a segue to move on to our next segment.
Oh my god. I had spent so long growing these nails out and I just broke one because I clenched my fist. I'm saying it's going to overwhelm the message. It's not going to be good. It's going to be useless. They need to figure it out fast. They should have used wrestlers that are acknowledgeable. However, I also want to point out the fact that maybe if they use like people that were like obviously the wrestlers that we all know, like Aleister and Tommaso, they're tall, lanky dudes. I'm wondering if maybe like these are just supposed to be figureheads and people are going to align with them on the sides, like Aleister and Tommaso. Even though Aleister said, like, I'd be crazy to do that. That being said, if Tommaso were to do so, and the rhymes, I wonder if that might work better than using the wrestlers that they're using right now for, like, the displays, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I were going to see Tommaso Ciampa in cargo shorts or cargo pants and a sweatshirt and a ski mask, I'd probably still realize it was Tommaso Ciampa. He's a skinny, tall man. That's just my point. Want to do best of the night? Because I'm about to change sign.
I would love to do best of the night.
Want to talk about how I just broke my goddamn nail?
No.
Alright. Yeah, I'm not fixing it.
Alright. So, promo of the night. Starting off there.
Sure.
So we start off with Firefly Funhouse, and very teasy segment that doesn't really give us much.
I was teased.
Did give us a nice all-brawn back wall. Then we moved on to... What was that?
It was sweet.
Yeah. And then we had the Corbin promo with Sheamus. I don't remember that at all. Then we had the dirt sheet with Mandy's hair and Sonya. I don't know why they called it the dirt sheet, because it's very obviously Miz TV. The dirt sheet is a very riffy segment, not normally with a guest. And then we had an interview with Otis and Tucker, pissed off about the dirt sheet. Then we had The Fiend in the ring with Alexa Bliss, which was the most confusing segment of all. I don't want to even consider this in any way whatsoever. Then we had the promo with Bayley and Sasha, where they were called out to the ring. Nothing there. Then we had the interview with Big E, who is the most inspirational man alive and the most positive man alive, and I would love to have him just talk at me. And then we had Bayley and Sasha talking in the ring with Stephanie. I thought this introduced a really cool story with the triple brand battle royale. I'm really looking forward to that. And then we had an interview with Miz and Morrison and Sonya. And then we had... You broke your nail.
No, it's not broken.
It's not broken?
I did not. My nail is still intact.
Oh, thank God. I was worried.
It's intact.
I was very worried.
No, I was worried too.
And then lastly, we had Retribution.
Yeah, whatever.
So... This is a tie for me, oh God. I'm having a hard time deciding what I want for this. For me, it's either the dirt sheet or it's Big E backstage. Now, in terms of storyline, the dirt sheet really gave us a lot more than Big E. Big E just gave us positive vibes, but that's really all I want in life. But I gotta go with the dirt sheet. It gave us the most, and it was the most enjoyable. And plus the Mandy's hair segment I thought was hilarious, and Sonya also is wonderful.
It's hard for me because I really liked the Sonya Mandy story.
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked. I mean, I'll talk about it in a second. I really liked the Fiend promo only because I liked it because it was a story. It was a new story that we're getting.
But not
one
in
addition to a new story that we're getting. Do you want me to finish what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes. I'll say that it was a new story that we're getting that I'm at least interested in, and not a story that's been overplayed a little bit, like the Sonya and Mandy story. However, I have to go with the Sonya and Mandy story because there was an ending that made sense and I knew what was happening the entire time, as opposed to the Brain Alexa story that I don't understand and I don't know why it's happening, and it just drives me so insane. It drives me crazy. I feel like I'm going insane about it. I feel like I'm going crazy about it.
You are. So now we move on to Fighter of the Night.
Yeah, I guess.
All right. So I can almost...
It's gonna be Jeff Hardy.
I was gonna say I can almost guarantee you are not gonna agree with me.
Oh, please! I don't have the energy to fight.
No, it's not gonna be one you hate, but I don't think you'll agree with me. So we started off with Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. That ended in a DQ, thanks to an intrusion from Shorty. I liked the DQ storyline, but they didn't need to have almost every match end in DQ, as I've already stated many times. But I think the one who performed here the best was Matt Riddle. Say what you will about him. He has history.
He's a horrible person.
But he's a very he's a very talented fighter. And Sheamus was kind of not present for this fight. But I mean, Sheamus didn't look bad, is what I'll say. And then we had Cesaro versus Lince Dorado, which was a very exciting match. I thought Cesaro was great. I thought Lince was great. I thought Lince looked the best out of the two of them. Um, he's always super fun to watch. I mean, just like any luchador, he is like larger than life. And then Cesaro is like ultra powerful and is one of the best muscle bound wrestlers in WWE. But I still think Lindsay shined better in that fight than Cesaro. And then we had Jeff Hardy versus King Corbin. I am always impressed with King Corbin whenever he fights, even though he rarely ever wins. He's still a wrestler that is incredible at fighting and has the speed to give himself a little bit of a spark when he fights. It's not just strong wrestle moves that every big muscled wrestler does. It's like he's got a lot of speed and can add a little bit of flash to his moves. And then we go into Sheamus versus Corbin. And again, I think Corbin was the highlight, even though Sheamus won. It's been a while since we've seen Corbin that looked this good, and anyone who can really lift up Sheamus is impressive in their own right. And plus, both Corbin and Sheamus were pulling double duty here, wrestling for the second time in the night. And Corbin also perfectly mixes the storytelling with his wrestling. I think that's what Sheamus was kind of missing today. Normally he's great at this, but I think he was just missing that twinge of character. He waited to show it until the match was over. Like against Matt Riddle, he didn't show his very aggressive Irish nature until Shorty G came out. He kind of went silent during the fight. Meanwhile, Corbin he always has that little life to him in his character. And then we move on to The Miz and Morrison versus Heavy Machinery. John Morrison, I think, is the highlight of this fight. I mean, the biggest point to that is when Tucky was against the ropes and Morrison like kicked his head and then was just back against the turnbuckle, just like standing like this, all casual, showing off his character. He's very much a character, and he's a talented wrestler at that. When he was hit by, I think it was one of Otis's moves, he spun out like crazy. Like the way he sells moves with like how he spins, how he just dead drops, as you mentioned while we were watching the fight. He's incredibly talented at selling, but also delivering moves. But if I were to give it to someone today, I think we have two wrestlers that pulled double duty and delivered both of those times. I think it wouldn't be right to give it to anyone who didn't pull double duty. So here's where you'll disagree with me. I'm going to give it to King Corbin on this.
Interesting.
I have a feeling you're going to give it to Sheamus.
See, I stayed quiet for all of this fight. Right? I've stayed quiet for this whole fight. And now, still the wrong way. Still bad. I've got a good comeback here.
There you go.
Now, I'll show you my Irish nature by saying you're incredibly wrong. You're so wrong. It pains me to see how wrong you are sometimes. Because you're wrong, it's Sheamus. Sheamus wins. Sheamus has done so well.
I want to hear your argument because I want to say Sheamus, but my heart couldn't point me away from Corbin.
Give you my argument. I'm tired.
Our chat is split on this. Our chat is split between Sheamus and Corbin, so...
I'm glad one of y'all will agree with somebody. Because... Simply, here's the thing. Yeah, Sheamus didn't look fabulous during his fight. He didn't look, rather, during his fight against Matt Riddle. But he still managed to do several things that kind of sent Matt's little stupid head spinning. And it's hard for me to choose against Sheamus and Corbin because I love Corbin about as much as I love Sheamus. However, Sheamus took so many hits, so many hard hits, and somehow still managed to come out throwing Corbin around. And then absolutely almost repeating Corbin's moves against him. Corbin threw Sheamus into the barricades. And he threw Sheamus's head into the announce desk. And Sheamus said, "Yeah, that sucks for me. But I'm going to do the same exact thing to you." To have the same amount of energy going into an attack as you do coming out of an attack to go after your opponent speaks volumes to me, because I feel like you literally saw them go tit for tat with moves, especially in the last moments of their fight while it was still worthwhile, before Matt Riddle interfered. For just the fact that Corbin did so many things to Sheamus and Sheamus turned it around and did the exact same things to Corbin, maybe it was shitty writing. But I'll accept it. Or shitty choreography. But Sheamus did the exact same things to Corbin after Corbin had exacted those moves on him. And I feel like that's just like the pinnacle, in a sense, of what's important to making a good wrestler, is that, like, if you were to look at this as if they were, like, not entertainment wrestling and, like, wrestling. If somebody punches you in the head 3 times, and you're still able to get up and punch them in the head 3 times as well, they have more respect for you than the guy that punched you in the head 3 times and then got punched in the head 3 times. Like, I feel like that just says more about who you are as a person. But not as a person. I've had a lot of drink. It just says more for your stamina, and I guess.
Because I mentioned this during a podcast weeks ago, but you're the one who told me taking hits doesn't make you a better fighter.
Did I say that?
Yes, you,
I've got to stop drinking on the podcast. So,
do you want to leave it up to chat, or do you want to leave it up to Twitter, who decides the fighter of the night tonight?
Is our chat going to decide who's... You said it was pretty split.
Well, let's see. What do you guys think is the fighter of the night tonight? I'm seeing Mike rooting for Corbin. Do we have any other opinions?
Sweet Gemini twin here. Milam, come to my rescue. I don't know what Sheamus. Zodiac sign you are, but I'm trusting you.
Milam said Sheamus. Mike is in all caps Corbin, so that should count as 2. So Corbin wins.
No,
wait. Harry said Sheamus.
Thank you, Harry, my other Gemini twin. I assume this is the Harry we know, right?
Yes.
Okay. Harry is my other Gemini twin, who's yelled at me multiple times during a party because we couldn't decide what was upstate New York or not. So I trust his opinions.
All right.
LMAO, Sheamus. No. Oh, it's Milo. Just because it's not Mark's. Thank you, Harry.
All right. So, objectively, we have more Sheamus than Corbin. I'm sorry, Mike. We didn't have the numbers to win this, but our fighter of the night is Sheamus.
I only have one Gemini standing behind me now, apparently.
Just know, Mike, Corbin will always be the fighter of the night in my heart.
I've got Milam and Harry behind me. I feel good.
You only have Harry behind you out of spite.
That's fine. That's a Gemini move.
All right, now
The Gemini move is to either fight for your opinions or go out of spite.
now fight of the night.
Yeah, I don't know if this is like up for debate at all because I think I know what I'm gonna.
I don't know what you're gonna pick. I'm actually.
I think I know what I'm gonna pick.
All right, so we started off Matt Riddle versus Sheamus. Ended in DQ. It was a good fight until then. Although I wish we'd seen Sheamus doing more besides for half of the fight sitting there and taking hits.
Like a champ.
Then we had Cesaro versus Lindsay. One of the two fights that actually ended in a pin. It was a very good fight. Both Lindsay and Cesaro were awesome. We didn't have any interference. It was very much just a wrestler on wrestler fight. It was great. All around wonderful. Had a great lead in with last week's promo. Not much lead out, but it does make me wonder what they're doing with Lucha House Party. But yeah, overall it was a great fight. Then we had Jeff Hardy versus King Corbin, which again ended in a DQ. It was a great way to end with a DQ, I gotta be honest. It was wonderful. But with that said, I want to see like an actual fight between the two of these guys and have it actually end where one of them legitimately wins, because it was an exciting fight up until the end. And then we had Sheamus versus Corbin. Really great fight. Again, ended with Matt Riddle's interference. That's why it's knocking me down a peg, because it was a fight that was ended with outside interference. Otherwise, a fight like this definitely would be fight of the night, no doubt. And then lastly, we had Miz and Morrison versus Heavy Machinery. Again, ended in DQ because Mandy. It wasn't anything special. I gotta be honest, it wasn't anything special before that ending. It was an alright fight. I don't know why it was the main event. It was just good. So my fight of the night is Cesaro versus Lindsay. It was the only fight that ended in a pin that didn't have outside interference.
Yeah?
Yeah. I know you're going to say Cesaro versus Corbin, but I mean, how can you say that when it ended with Matt Riddle interfering resulting in the win, just like how whenever Bayley interferes with Sasha, that results in the win, which is why you hate those fights.
First of all, Cesaro did not fight Corbin tonight, but an interesting attempt. Actually, I was just kind of like, you said that. I was kind of fooling you a little bit here. I was gonna choose Cesaro and Lindsay.
Oh my god, I can't.
But you went off real fast, so I just let you do it.
I had a feeling
you burned that entire bridge right there.
I had a feeling you were gonna pick Sheamus versus Corbin, because like I said, any other day that fight would be top tier.
It would have been.
But we got that horrible ending with Matt Riddle.
Yeah, because Matt Riddle helped Sheamus win, and it didn't make any sense to me because Sheamus has no use for Matt Riddle or Jeff Hardy or like his little faction of incels. But that being said, yeah, no. Normally I would have chosen Corbin and Sheamus because they are my two favorite heels of all time. And by all time, I mean of all time for this current class of wrestlers. But as much as I loved it, I respect a match that ends in a pin that you can trace back to the two wrestlers that started the match. Yeah, no, you dove off the deep end on that one when I made a face, so I just kind of like let you fly through it.
I wanted us to agree on something tonight.
Well, because I literally, I thought you would know what I was going for, because I literally said when I started talking about this match, and it was like the only respectable match that happened tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought that maybe you'd like hold that in mind, but then you said like, I don't think you're going to agree with me, and I was like, all right, sure. And then you said this, and I was like,
because I know how much you love Sheamus and Corbin.
you do, and it hurts me because, again, literally for if they had just had Corbin get like thrown face first into a buckle, which is essentially what happened. If they had just gotten him thrown face first into a buckle, and then when he goes to stand, Sheamus kicks him in a pin. No Matt Riddle. I'd have been like, that's it. That's the match, boys. That's what we wanted. But no, it was a match as a result of a DQ. It was a match that should have ended with a DQ.
Yeah.
And it didn't.
Yeah.
So no, Cesaro and Lindsay, unfortunately, although I love both of them deeply, and this is usually how matches of the night go for SmackDown, which is you just got to take the match that had the most merit when literally every other match, that's not even just me saying literally too much, quite literally every other match of the night, no real merit. This has to be the only one.
Even
I don't really like matches that end in DQ, and I don't like matches that start from a DQ. So
even like the Heavy Machinery versus Miz and Morrison, you would have thought that would have just ended normally, but no, you had Mandy Rose charging in. I was hoping we'd see Miz and Morrison with their new coach, Sonya Deville. That would be perfect. But
I was kind of hoping Sonya would just jump in the middle of the match between the men.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Because Sonya Deville could 100% take those guys.
You could take Tucky.
I also understand. Yeah. But I understand why it ended in DQ, because like the whole point was Otis and Tucky take Mandy out of the ring. Sonya follows them. Miz and Morrison, who have been trying to hold her back, follow her. They're all out of the ring. The ring is empty for Retribution to do whatever the hell it was that they were doing tonight.
Yeah.
Also, ironically, spray painting the things that WWE can easily replace, like the steps and the canvas and the plexiglass and the steel steps. Weirdly enough, didn't spray paint things like the Titanatron or the foam padding on the floor. I feel like somebody said, "Hey guys, so we're gonna send you out there to mess stuff up, right? There's gonna be a chainsaw too. So I hope you guys are excited for that. I don't know why it's not there either. Don't worry. But could you just make sure not to spray X, Y, and Z? Thanks."
Milam, there was one coherent message. Although everything was nonsense, they tagged W and W with a circle and a slash through it. No WWE.
Well, to be fair, it had the same sort of WWF logo that they used to have with the two W's. I mean, it's still the two W's, but like back when it was like kind of like ragged in a way. Yes, as Mike said, they were crazy Antifa looters, so please do not trust anything they did. Mike, this is a podcast of levels.
We'll
go from talking about Chris Benoit to talking about why the current country that we live in is a gosh dang mess.
But to run it back,
Antifa, I'll tell you that much.
To run it back, our promo of the night is the Dirt Sheet featuring Mandy's hair and Sonya. Our fighter of the night is Sheamus, and our fight of the night is Cesaro versus Lindsay Dorado.
I just want to say, the real reason our country is a mess, because of the president, is this goddamn color. No one should be that color. I only look like that color when I go into the window and like when it's light out, because apparently my BB cream is one shade darker than it should be.
So I'm gonna end the podcast. Thanks for watching, everybody.
No, wait, I've got things to say.
What do you have to say?
So, everybody, hello. Hi. Hi, I'm your lovely host, Liz. I have too much hair, as you can tell. I'm a Leo rising, so you can tell that I'm a Leo rising because of my hair. It's like the whole thing about Leo risings is that you look like a Leo, and it's like your hair's everywhere. I don't know. It's this thing. That wasn't serious. What was serious is that Monday in essentially 3 days now, because it'll be about 24 hours until we start the next podcast, or 36 hours. Sorry, I know how to do math. Don't look at me.
36 hours? What are you talking about?
36 hours. That's
72 hours.
3 days.
24 times 3 is 72. 36 is 1.5.
I had an interview a couple days ago, and the lady asked me, she was like, what subjects did you really like in school? And I was like, I liked English and history. And then I mentioned, I was like, but I hated math and science. And I was like, I was good at math at one point, and I'm not anymore. I was like, oh, yeah.
So, is this podcast going to end, or...
I was going to say something more, and then you stopped me. You interrupted me.
I didn't stop you.
Can I finish?
Yes. You can finish.
In 72 hours, we will probably be starting our next podcast, more or less. If we start the Raw podcast at 1 a.m., you probably should assume there's a problem. So in 70 hours, how's that? The Raw podcast will be starting. Set your timers now. Ideally, by the time that we put up the Raw podcast, I will either have screwed up a job interview completely, or I will have a job. So, you know what? If you're watching, if you like me, if you don't hate me, send some good vibes. If it's your thing, pray. Just pray that I don't screw everything up all at once.
I'm hoping the person conducting the interview is watching this right now and watching you as like the mess that you are.
You know, because you live with me and I'm very stressed out and you have to deal with that. I'll let you deal with that in 10 minutes when we're done with this. However, on Monday, I will be done with the project I'm working on. I will be back here, hopefully with a belly full of Taco Bell, because that is what I have promised myself to get through Monday. But quite literally, if you are watching and you don't hate me, please hope that I do well on Monday. That is not even a joke. I am begging everyone that watches this. That said, assuming all goes well and I'm not a crying, sobbing mess, on Monday night, we will be back for the Raw podcast. What's happening on Raw, you say? Well, let me tell you. Asuka is fighting Bayley.
Raw Underground.
Kevin Owens is getting murdered by Randy Orton.
Oh.
And I'm probably going to scream about Drew McIntyre for a couple of hours. And we might actually have to sit through some more Raw Underground. So if you want to sit through us talking about Raw Underground until the wee hours of the morning, those of you with jobs might not want to. I'm sorry.
Mike said...
But if you have a job...
Mike said if you had voted for Corbin. What was that?
I just dropped my 3-hole punch. Go on.
Mike said if you had voted for Corbin, then maybe he'd come watch.
Mike, no!
Is the cat okay?
Cat's fine. She was nowhere near it.
Alright.
She ran under the bed, though, because she's mad at me. Mike, if I vote for Corbin next SmackDown, maybe? Could we maybe strike a deal? But we will be back on Monday. We will be back for Raw. Watch Kevin Owens get his sweet, lovely Canadian ass beaten. Maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe we'll be shocked. Maybe Kevin Owens will live.
Is it an outro if it takes 45 minutes?
Mike!
He's right, though.
Mike! Fine! We're done! That's it, boys!
Thanks for watching.
No, I just feel self-conscious. I'm not going to say anything.
Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed, please follow the stream. You can see more of Liz pouting on Raw on Monday. If you want to follow us on Twitter, we post whenever we go live there, as well as retweet a bunch of wrestling news and other various stuff related to wrestling. That's at the Pinfall Cast. Remove the pod, and you got our Twitter handle. And then if you missed part of this podcast or want to see our previous ones, go check out the Pinfall Podcast on YouTube, and you can watch it all there. We've archived everything for your viewing pleasure. More or less, yes. We've removed some messy stuff. If you want to follow our personal Twitters, mine is at the Mark Cameron, MARC Cameron. And then Liz is at Eliza Elaine23. Both of our Twitter handles are in the Pinfall Cast description, so go check us out there. And then follow my personal stream, twitch.tv/Mark Cameron. We're working on an awesome project. We actually just filmed something for it today. Super excited. It's combining the fundamentals of wrestling with Pokemon. Definitely go check it out.
I'm in it.
It's a large network of streamers and just fans of Pokemon and Liz. And we're working on something awesome.
I don't know anything about Pokemon.
I will be going live Monday at 1 p.m.
I won't be until after Raw 11. Anywho.
Yes.
Please join us on Monday. Mike, I still appreciate you. Thank you, everyone who's been in our chat tonight. It's always nice to have you guys commenting with us, especially because you inform us of things that we may not have known, which is a lot of stuff. But it's really awesome to see everyone in the chat. And also, I still appreciate Mike because he's a Gemini. I respect that. Anywho, please join us again on Monday. Mark, do the thing where you end all of this. I'll keep going.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you on Monday.
Ooh, ASMR.